Yo, welcome to the NS9 Postgame Show, the hodgepodge of nothingness on Pittsburgh Baseball Now. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, as always, my guy.
Always, man.
Tyler Sweeney.
What's up? It's over.
It's over.
It's over.
Feel like we need like some celebration video going on here. Some
Yeah.
stuff should be like dropping down. We made it. We outlasted.
I don't know how this should be more of a talk about us. How do we do this?
Only Tyler. How can I make this about us?
Exactly. How did we survive this?
I don't know, but we did. It was tough. It was trying, especially when one of our co-hosts decided he's not going to do it anymore.
He's vacationer.
Yeah, Jim's a platoon guy.
Yeah, he's
the
like a
backup
Jack
catcher.
Swinski.
Yes, he is.
It's like if I'm home, I might be on.
Basically, and he's always away.
Exactly.
The difference, though, is when Jim's on, he's certainly not like the fourth best host in the league.
Well, yeah,
he's still very low quality.
No, he's terrible.
Right.
He's from Kentucky. What do we expect?
God, Kentucky.
What a dork. He plays FIFA.
I know. Who doesn't play Chell?
What a weirdo.
Guess what, Tyler?
What's up?
From this moment on,
we can actually play video games.
It's NHL time, baby.
God. Can't wait to play video games again.
It's so funny because I hate hockey. I don't say I hate it, but I don't watch hockey ever.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, do I like playing it.
It's fun. But look, I'm excited for the next step of the Pirates. We knew what this was, and now we're at the point where it's just exhausting having to deal with this. I'm ready to get to the offseason. I want to talk about the next step. I don't want to have to keep watching this.
And like that was a problem for us because we felt next year was what this year was going to be.
Yeah.
Well, what we hope next year will be again, because we've been hoodwinked once before. So, right. We thought this year was going to be that year. We thought this year was going to be like the exciting part. We're closer to that next step. And we didn't really get that. We got the 100 loss season.
Yep.
We got the Josh Van Meters. We got the Oshis. We keep going down the list, unfortunately. And this is the first year we did a post-game show after every game. So that was fun. I mean, to be honest, though, I enjoyed this. Yeah. It's just, it would be nice if the games were fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's a grind. You did mention what we expected coming into this year. Just something I think I kind of want to touch on because I don't know that we really want to discuss this game that much. It's the last one of the year. But
we can, and we will. For those that are like listening that want to hear that, stay tuned. We will.
Yeah, we'll get, but Josh Van Meter. Jason Mackey did apparently say that he expects the Pirates to spend 20 to 30 million in free agency this year. I don't know if I see that. I think it is very necessary, but I don't know if I see it.
Can I touch on that a little bit?
Yeah.
And I did on Twitter as well. And this is more of an off season. And this will be when our friend Ethan comes on. We'll definitely dive more into it.
It's the last game of the year. What are we going to talk about?
Well, I mean, it's the off season. We have a lot to talk about, and we have to drag out this throughout the whole off season. So with that being said, though,
this was a thought from today.
I just want to make this thing clear. And as we talked about on the show, this team can become we're not looking for competitive. We're looking for competent, right? And this team can be competent with just $20-30 million. I mean, you can actually, with that addition to what there is now, see a baseball team that's worth watching. That's so you're surrounding the young guys to grow with, and that such. But let's make this clear. Saying you're going to spend $20-30 million in free agency, don't get in the mindset, because the way that's worded and the way your mind thinks, don't think this payroll is being added by $20-30 million.
That's the big thing right there, is the adding. It's not
what
adding.
you spent last year in free agency was about $15 million. And you're losing Polanco's $3 million this year. So to spend $20 million is pretty much a wash on what the payroll was this year. So that's also a key. The way that's worded, and this isn't on Mackey by any means, like that's his source and what they'll do. But don't let the Pirates spin it as of we're going to add $20-30 million in payroll. They're basically staying the same in doing that. But with that said, in staying the same next year with the talent they have currently coming up and the elimination of the terrible talent they've had, they should still be able to improve.
No, that's an absolutely fair point. Adding and spending are two completely different things. One thing I think to slightly touch on is that I think the Pirates are 13 and like maybe 18 in September when they actually decided that they were going to stop playing absolutely god-awful players all the time. 13 and 18 at this point. If they would stretch that out over a season where it's the actual young guys developing, it's probably going to improve a bit.
Right.
And I'm going off like my drunken math from last night. So I'm kind of guessing here, but it might be 13 and 19. Either way, it wasn't a bad September, and they didn't have the Yoshis or the Josh Van Meters of the world. And they didn't they had the Bryce Wilsons, but there was some development with their arms.
Yes. And again, to be optimistic, that was with the worst bullpen in baseball in the month of September. And that can quickly and easily be corrected as well. So that's why I'm getting at, there's some chatter of like, how can this team really get that much better with the 20-30 million? You can easily do it. I mean, again, just adding a competent first baseman probably gives you 5 wins, because you're not having a -3 WAR first base situation now going into next year if you do that, And then with the bullpen, just adding a bit like you're seeing with the September brought, adding a few pieces around that, and then you're still having the prospects of ND come up, Quinn Priester, Michael Burrows, potentially Henry and Gonzalez, so like, and I'm not saying they're going to be good, especially right away. And we still have O'Neill Cruz, but there is that potential, and you want to see those guys. So I'm more interested in seeing all 5 of those guys I mentioned potentially fail or struggle, opposed to watching Josh Van Meter fail and struggle. So that's why I feel like you can easily be a very competent team by adding a $20-30 million next year in this situation right now.
And I think we've kind of talked about it. I don't think that this team is that far away from being competitive. I just don't think they will do enough to be competitive. I think there's enough there that there are enough okay players or good players coming up and in the pipeline. There's enough there that they can be competitive. It's just they refuse to do so.
That's the best way of putting it. I mean, they did essentially refuse. And it kind of leads to the quotes that you hear from Derek Shelton when asked about the 100-loss season. And he says, it doesn't matter, because it didn't matter. Like, wins and losses did not matter this year. And it's not so much that because, well, it's about development and it didn't matter. It just simply didn't matter because like that wasn't a focus at all.
No.
We
literally did not matter.
Needed to be bad. We needed to, because we want to go ahead and get the best odds for the best draft pick. And we refused to add on this year. And you can question if that was the right move or not, which we certainly have been doing. But we'll have a question here, Anthony. He does say, what's the longest contract they'll sign this offseason, either free agency or extension? I mean, this is an offseason question, but let's just spitball here.
I think 2 years. I don't think they touch anybody. I think they're still in rebuilding mode.
Free agency, I'm with you. I could max see a 2-year thing. And it probably is like a 1 year with an option. It's like a Vogelbach deal, it's like a 1 year with an option. But I will say this. Brian Reynolds essentially has to sign an extension this offseason. It almost it has to be done, because I'm still in that mindset of, with the uncertainty of Brian Reynolds, why is he a Pirate? And I know you don't want to hear that. I'm not saying you personally, people listening, but that's just the failure of this situation. You keep prolonging this rebuild, which keeps narrowing the window of having a Brian Reynolds, which means if you're not extending him, then why has he been here? And this offseason, like I said, you're one step closer. And if it's not done this offseason, you're heading into next season where we already have the arbitration issues. You got to go into that process again. And yes, you could certainly do it next year as well. But to me, it almost seems like the timing adds up. If you look at the Pirates side, last year is coming off of a 6-win season. This year, you know what? It wasn't as good. Maybe now's the time to capitalize. For Brian Reynolds, I was coming off of a 6-win season. This year, maybe not so hot. So maybe now's the time to capitalize. So maybe today it makes sense for them to say, you know what? Let's hash this out.
No, it definitely has worked into the Pirates' favor, I think. The entire extension thing, and really everything that's played out with the 2-year buyout of the arbitration, it's worked probably more in their favor, where he's not that 5-win guy. So now it's as good a time as ever. And we've went back and forth on this all the time. If they're going to continue to just work on this rebuild, there's no reason for him to be here.
Right. And I just want to clarify. So Anthony says Reynolds is signed through next year. So I'm already in offseason mode. So when I say about next year, I'm already talking 2024. Yes, he's not worried about signing anything this year, as in 2023. So yeah, when I did say next year, it was meant for 2024.
But even then, we're at an arbitration number that they're not going to pay.
Oh, I mean, they would pay it. I mean, they're going to pay it, but
no,
they
will trade
lock
him.
Up.
If that at the number he will get, that will trade him, because they're the Pirates.
I mean, I disagree.
They're the Pirates.
I don't think it's the arbitration number. I think it's if they don't get an extension done, because at that point in time, if you can't get an extension done, then you're trading him.
Potato.
Sure, whatever. Okay. Anything else before we want to talk about the game?
No, let's just talk about the game so we can go play PlayStation.
All right. So I guess we can talk it off with starting with Oviedo, as we typically do. Oviedo led off. He started the game. He lasted 4 innings, 2 earned run, 1 strikeout, 5 hits. It wasn't this wasn't the cap that you wanted to see heading into the offseason. Again, not that what today he did means a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. Going back to our Andujar talk. But like you mentioned, this is the last moment you see. It's the offseason. It's a very small sample. So it's probably going to get a big part of his talk heading into it. So I don't know. What were your thoughts today with Oviedo?
I think he's a reliever. I really don't have much more to add. I understand why he should come in the next year and get the opportunity to be a starter. And on no planet should he not be on the Major League club next year. But he's a reliever. I think he's shown enough to just be a reliever.
Yeah. I think what I'm going to say here too just encapsulates the whole point. Today's start doesn't change anything. And I think he's a reliever. Again, all along, I think he's a reliever. But it's just the way this team is going to be set up and going into this offseason, and probably how it comes out of the offseason into the spring training, that he's going to get a shot, and he should get a shot. And that's all. I mean, I'm going to give him an opportunity to start, but I don't think he is a starter.
If Oviedo starts next year in the rotation, that means either the Pirates failed completely in the offseason or he showed a ton in spring training.
That's the good way of putting it.
There's not a middle ground there.
Either they
one or the other.
failed or they really excelled because they developed them.
They either knocked it out of the park signing starters or they just completely failed. Because if he's going to get a shot and actually open the season in the rotation, he must have shown something more than he has shown.
Agree. And there's going to be options. You got Roansy, you have Mitch Keller, there's JT Brubaker. If Ortiz comes in and he's also going to get a shot. And I would assume Ortiz is probably going to be above the pecking order just from what we've seen out of him than Oviedo. You imagine they sign a starter. I mean, there's good reason to believe that he would start in the bullpen.
I mean,
but I'm going
like
to give him his opportunity.
Brubaker, Keller, Contreras, Ortiz, and then Oviedo. That's not pretty to me. It needs to be an Ortiz and Oviedo battle with Brubaker in there. Probably sign one or two, and if Oviedo beats those guys out, then there's probably problems, or Oviedo actually looks like he could do this.
Agree. So today doesn't help his battle to say he's a starter. But again, ultimately it doesn't really end anything. But at the end of the day, 3.21 ERA, he has a season end up. Does anything as well maybe change your mind on the Quintana trade?
No.
I
mean, I'm gonna shit on that until I die. Mainly just because they included Chris Stratton, and that just annoys me.
Okay.
It's just annoying.
The Stratton part did for me as well. And I made sure to kind of point out that the other nights when Stratton came in, because he has done well with the Cardinals, which I think we all kind of agreed with. You and I think especially. I don't know if Jim was really on board with it.
I don't think Jim likes Stratton that much.
No, but I didn't like it at all. And he kind of proved and showed that he did exactly what we felt he would do. He pitched well for the Cardinals, and he's going to the postseason. And there you go. Don't think you need to be a sweetener in any deal, but it is what it is at this point. All right. So Oviedo pitches for Pirates don't have a lead at that point in time. Do we want to go down the rest of the bullpen? They did their job today.
Sure.
So Fernandez
last
comes
chance
in.
to do their job. Good for them.
The last chance. And then, they did it, Tyler. But yeah, Fernandez comes in. He pitches one. No strikeouts, no hits, but a walk. So we had the ex-Cardinals duo, right? We had Oviedo and Fernandez in there. Benuelos comes in for his last outing as a Pirate. Well, this year, I should say. 1.2 innings, 3 strikeouts. He looked decent. Doesn't mean he's good, but he has been one of the better pitchers in this bullpen. And then Pat Mears, 1.1. I said Pat Mears. Yes, it's Pat Mears.
Yeah.
Nick Mears comes in 1.1, 1 hit, 1 strikeout, and then Ramirez caps off, gets the save, his first save, 1 inning pitched. To me, those guys, whatever. Mears, welcome back. Pitch effectively back-to-back nights. I don't know what's in his future, but welcome back, and you did your job.
I mean, if more than one of those guys are in the bullpen next year on opening day, there's a problem. That means you did nothing again. Because that's a group of guys that aren't good. That just happen to get the job done today.
Yeah. I see nothing in Ramirez. There's a reason why he was DFA'd.
You know what I love about this? I watch you and Jim every now and then, and you'll throw it off to him, and I'll just go, they're bad. And then Jim will he'll just go into this deep dive into, and you look at him, and it'll take him 10 minutes to get to them not being bad or to them being bad. I'll just tell you they're bad. And I'm probably wrong a lot of the times. But I'm just going straight to them being bad. I don't need the numbers. They're bad.
And this is kind of why we gloss over the bullpen a lot of games. Like we'll talk about the starter and we just go down the bullpen line and then we talk about the offense because like I just feel like there's not enough in the bullpen to talk about. Now there's some that are bad and maybe like how you talk about Jim, like, but they're warranted a talk. It's like, yeah, they're bad, but I see something. And maybe if you squint hard enough, they might not be bad later.
I ain't squinting and shit.
Ramirez, he's bad. Fernandez, he throws hard.
He's bad still.
But that's a 2022 MLB reliever.
Yeah. Good for you.
So, okay. There's a reason he was DFA'd by the Cardinals also. Banuelos, he's one like if I squint hard enough.
He sucks.
Maybe he's on the opening day and I might be okay with that. And of course, he's also a lefty. So that helps him in that sense. Right. And Mears, whatever at this point in time.
He's a human.
He is a human. That's a qualification today. So that helps him. But I'm probably with you. If there's more than two of those of that crop, that's not good.
I said more than one.
That's what I meant. My bad. More than one.
Like pick one of them. That's fine. I don't need multiple of them. They're all bad.
All right, so let's move on. Let's get to the offense. It wasn't a bad day again. I mean, last night, the Pirates came out hitting, of course, all in that one inning for the most part. Today, 9 hits, 4 walks, just 5 strikeouts. Like, it wasn't a bad showing for the offense. Only one guy had multiple hits, Diego Castillo, of all people. But hey, the offense did their job. The Pirates won 5-3. Anything stand out to you today offensively?
No, mainly because I don't care about Miguel Andujar. His 3 hits did nothing for me. He's not a good baseball player. I don't really need to watch him play much more. Aside from that, O'Neal Cruz finishes the year above average at the plate, which is actually pretty incredible considering how god-awful he was for such a long stretch of time. Yeah. And now I can say it. He was so bad. He was awful. He finished the year above average with 17 freaking homers. Imagine if he just slightly figures it out.
Right.
Aside from that, whatever. Diego Castillo, Juwan Bay, he had a good approach there, I think, actually to reel it in from my super negativity. I do think Bay is very useful, and we saw it with runners in scoring position. He's got really good bat to ball skills, and it's gonna play really well. Marcano, I have no desire to watch that guy play another Major League Baseball game ever. He sucks ass.
He did have a hit.
Yeah, he sucks. He's so bad. He is bad. And then aside from that, Diego sucks. Sawinski is good at home, and who else played today?
Newman played today, went 1 for 4. Also had a really good play defensively.
Yeah. So Newman's going to be an interesting case study over the offseason. I don't really know that I want to dive into him today, but we'll talk, I'm sure, a lot about Kevin Newman.
If you've watched our group chat, you'll know that Jim and I differ very vastly. And I'm on the side of Newman's not a Pirate next year. But it simply is attached to Bay. There's just, to me, too many middle infielders that you need to give playing time to. You have heading into next year. There's obviously O'Neal Cruz. He's there. And to me, Castro has supplanted himself that he is your second baseman next year. He hasn't done enough. He's done everything he can that's his job to lose now. And here we are talking about Rodolfo Castro, that he's your second baseman. Good on him. But with that said, there's also Bay here, and he needs to play appearances, so he's going to be your middle infield guy. He's going to play center field. If Newman's here, he's just clogging that up, and that's just going to hinder development of Bay, and I don't want that. Take your veterans elsewhere. Get them at your corner outfielders, your DH, your first baseman, your catcher. It just is what it is. It's center in the middle infield. That's your guys. I'm not paying I'm not paying Newman again. I'll be at $4 million or whatever. Like I'm not paying Newman $4 million to get the minimal plate appearances and hinder development of other guys where he's just to me more valuable. If I'm hoping to trade him, I'm hoping to spin what he did right now, send him to the Angels.
Yeah, I mean, I have thoughts on the whole thing, but it's more like we'll talk about it in the offseason. I don't want to bury our podcast and Kevin Newman talk tonight, but I do have thoughts on the whole thing. We'll discuss later.
Perfect. I guess so to touch on, because we're going to talk. So to bring it back up though with Andujar, he did have 3 hits today. The 3 hits does give him his slash line. We got a slash line now. Final slash for his Pirates tenure of 9 games. 250, 275, 472. It was much, much worse before that getting into today's game. But of course, with only 9 game sample size, 1 game means a lot, which again is also why we've said these 9 games are meaningless. What ends up? Because beforehand he was batting 187, and now he's batting 250 because of 1 game. So that's how much this sample size means, which it doesn't. But again, you've answered it. Does this change anything to me? No, it doesn't.
And honestly,
all season,
watching more Andujar leads me more into the camp of I want nothing to do with him. There's just not enough positional versatility with him. He's a bad corner outfielder that is behind a top 2 second baseman in the league, or third baseman, I'm sorry, and the guy that really hasn't played first base and doesn't have the bat to carry that position. So he's just kind of a guy that I have no desire in watching him be on this team.
And on top of that, I feel like the fact that they didn't even try and attempt to play him at first base, like even give him potentially some more flexibility.
They played Diego Castillo there today.
That's where I'm at. So clearly he's no first base plans. So it makes him even more limited.
Yeah.
He's basically going to be your DH if he plays, and then potentially like a left field replacement. I would hope so. And to me, that just wastes a roster spot on a actual veteran that you need.
No, I'm completely with you. I just don't see the value in him being on this team. He looked fine in his limited time. It's just not a guy I really care to keep around. He's not a guy that this type of ball club needs to have.
I'm with you. Again, we can be wrong, but we have our actual reasons of why and proof of why. This is what it is. But anyways, yeah, so that's where Miguel Andujar ends up finishing out his Pirates debut. But you look at his overall season, of course, with his past 4 seasons, it's still very, 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 very bad.
And that's before we get to the offseason talk of the roster crunch that's about to happen again.
Yeah.
He's the guy that you don't need. Moving on.
Move on. Positive note. So another thing to talk about Onel Cruz about, because let's talk Onel Cruz because he's exciting, and that's why you want to watch. Even when he was very, very bad, he's very exciting and he has a lot of tools. Another thing to point out, though, so again, we keep going back to the August 28th date, which is when he started leading off, right, which was a big turnaround. Today, he collected his 14th walk in that time span, 31 games. So remember, we're talking about how he never collected a walk in his first 50 at-bats. Now he's doing that. Also, as a matter of fact, in his last – oh, damn, did I clear that out already? No, I didn't.
Probably.
In his last 10 games since September 23rd, today he had his 6 strikeouts. 10 games, only 6 strikeouts, also 6 walks in that time frame.
Pretty good.
Again, it's just these things that you keep seeing keep adding up. You know the tools were there. Now he's doing these other things better. He's still not a complete package, but now heading into this offseason, like I'm just super, super, super excited about Onel Cruz for 2023. Because Jim, who's not on the show because he doesn't work, sent in our group text today. Like, this was bad. You know, like at Onel Cruz is like basically worse, right? He didn't have a good season overall. Still basically 2.5 WAR production.
Over the course of the year? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, when I looked earlier, I think Fangraphs having like 1.3.
Oh, so maybe it's closer to 3 WAR because last I saw it was like 1.1.
Well, I mean, we're at
That
like
was
90 games with them, so probably about 2.5.
okay.
But yeah, like, and that's even with playing not great defense, analytic wise, definitely a lot of errors, a lot of things that need cleaned up, and also just being absolutely abysmal at the plate for a good stretch of this year. Like people people had a right to talk about him being sent down. Like there was an actual thought that he
We
might need
talked
to be
about
sent
you
down.
and I. You and I.
I don't think we thought that he needed to be, but there were legitimate arguments to be made about sending him down
We had a
because he
post-game
was
show
that bad.
where you and I said, I don't want to be the first to say it because we know what comes around with the O'Neal Cruz talk, right?
Yeah.
And we've always been on the other side of it. Like he needs to be here and playing. But you and I both talked and discussed that. I'm not here to say he needs to be sent down. However,
there is a definite argument to be made.
To talk about it is rightfully so at this point in time. I can have a discussion now. Does he need to be sent back down? Maybe for 2 weeks, just get his head clear, relax a little, then come back up. I'm not opposed to that. They kept him up, and hey, things started clicking for him, so that's good. But at any rate, this season, which is very polarizing because he had a very, very piss poor first part of it, which again, we identified it was bad. Results have to come. Then they came, and boy, did they come. I don't know the final numbers were, but I mean, he's been basically hanging around like a 150 weighted runs created plus since being in that lead up spot.
Final, he's at 106, I believe.
Well, what I mean is that final stretch.
Yeah.
Again, I keep going back to August 28th when he goes in the lead up spot, what his numbers are. There's a reason why I do August 28th because that's the fundamental change. It's not just the arbitrary like September 1st. Like August 28th is when he went into the leadoff role. And yes, I don't know what the final numbers are, but again, he's been basically, Connor says 153. I'm sure again, like after today, it's going to change a bit, but he's basically hovering around 150. That's not a 3 WAR player, buddy. Yeah. You're talking about a 5 WAR shortstop or more. Not saying that's sustainable and going to hold up, but that's what that is.
It's something to be excited about. Like he's not limping into the offseason.
No.
He went into the offseason really strong. We saw a legitimate turnaround. Next year, if he's not hitting in the top 3, we riot.
Oh boy, we riot.
We're not doing this. We're not doing this whole thing where we're going to let him ease into things. No. He's in the top 3 of the order. I don't care what place you want to put him. Put him somewhere up the top 3 or we riot. I don't care if a lefty's on the mound. I don't care if it's freaking prime Clayton Kershaw. Put him in the top 3.
And this isn't a situation that we've been teetering with. If the Pirates, if he is or isn't, they failed or succeeded at one point or another. Because here's the thing. We damn well know they're not going to add any free agents worth putting O'Neal Cruz out of the top 3. So, correct. If he's not in the top 3, we riot.
Oh, I will.
We didn't get that Russell Wilson, right? We didn't get his video, but we changed it. So we ride. We riot.
You ever done anything
Let's
dangerous?
riot.
No, but like if he is not hitting in one of the top 3 positions next year, every day, I will fully agree with everything that Stilo and Kevin say on Twitter. That's as politely as I can put it.
That sounds good.
What is this noise?
Outside of that, again, it's very small sample. We all understand that. But I was puzzled why Bay didn't make his debut earlier enough in the season with all the trash that's been in the Pirates organization playing every day. In the short time I've seen him, again, like the tools, like I like what Bay presents as a baseball player. So I'm also heading into this offseason knowing that Cruz and the way he did, Castro surprisingly became the player that he became and the way he did. And now that there is Bay, like this middle infield looks competent. And that's without the middle infield that you're hoping for, Peguero and Nick Gonzalez, which they've kind of gone the other way. So this has been very, very helpful that Bay and Castro have become the player. Well, I'm not going to say become. Neither of them really became anything as of yet, but what you're seeing out of them, it's positive.
We have seen some strides, especially out of Castro. Like Cruz, we're still not all the way there yet. But we saw enough, I think, that we're very encouraged by him. Castro, on the other hand, is a guy that I think he definitely opened your eyes, because I know coming into this year, I was not interested in Rodolfo Castro at all. I thought he was max a utility player. I think there might be something there with him as a starter. I still don't know if he is completely, but he's certainly a guy that you can use on your ball club. And like you mentioned, the middle infield depth is there. So I said it earlier, like they're not that far. They're really not that far if they can just like do a few things correctly.
Yeah.
Just show a little bit. Put a little effort in. You're not that far.
I'm with you. I just have to go back on this comment because I love it. But going back to the whole re-riot thing, the hands around PNC. That's what's going to happen if Cruz isn't bat top 3. Hands around PNC is coming back. Hey, man. This season stunk, but there were certainly positives around it. There really were. It just stinks. And I guess to kind of go back to on comments, Ben Charrington said, like, you know, they're asked, why would you go to the game? And he's like, well, you know, part of the fun is watching the development and watching these guys grow and the fruition of the team and such. And that, like, the thing is, I get that. The problem was you surrounded all that with terrible, terrible baseball players that it just outweighed people wanting to see that. So, like, there were positives. It just overall, it sucked. And hey, it's 100 losses. Like, there's proof that it sucked. Clearly stunk. There's a reason why you had the best odds for the #1 draft pick next year. It's because the year sucked. But yes, there were positives. And I know we're overly critical on some things and, you know, pessimistic on some things. But I mean, credit where credit's due a lot of times. I mean, we try to keep it fair. There was a lot of positives too we did talk about. But I just really hope that this upcoming season that we don't have to endure what we just did. Yeah, Cruz is good. Here's XYZ, but we lost, and here's why it was terrible. And
so, my thoughts on the season, now that we're finally wrapped up with it, it's certainly more encouraging than our last 2 years of this. But it is the most frustrating of the 3, because it didn't have to be like this. We didn't need to wait until August and September to see these guys. We didn't need 4 months of Josh Van Meter, 3 months of Yoshi. We didn't need all this. We didn't need 2 months of Ronzi in AAA. None of this had to happen, but they made it that way. So it's probably the most encouraging of the 3, because there's finally something to look forward to. But it's by far the most frustrating, because we should be going into next year with more of an idea of who these guys are. Instead, we just have a slight encouragement based upon what happened in the last month or 2.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. We don't have to harp too much on this because the people know. We've talked about this 162 times this year, basically. No, I get you. But it's right. And it's just like what stinks is the conversation we're having today and like probably the next 3 weeks of this offseason. If you go to listen to our shows a year ago, it's probably going to be the same thing. This is what was so disappointing about this year. They didn't have to be this bad. You could see the future's coming. It's close. So let's start getting there. Let's start surrounding this team with good, productive players, because everyone that's on this ball club has seen nothing but losing. You know, again, like when you talk about Brian Reynolds and he's been here for how long, it's been nothing but losing seasons. do you want your leaders to not know how to win? That's kind of a problem. No one in this clubhouse knows how to win. They haven't been there before. So let's start getting those guys in. That's what we talk about the roles when we do at times. They're bad too, but you know what? They have guys in there that know how to do it. And they've been there before. Let them teach. Let them teach the way. Right? The children are our future. So let's. Oh man, I don't want to say this that bad way, but let's groom them. Let's have them have leadership in that clubhouse that knows how to win and can show them the ropes and develop. So that way you're not we keep going. Like everyone to harp on Castro and how dumb he is and he makes stupid plays and all these errors and blah, blah, blah. And okay, great. And somebody can be cleaned up, but also maybe if there was a veteran guy to say, hey kid, let me pull you aside. Maybe that could help him.
At some point, there's a reason that Jason Kendall told everyone, welcome to hell.
Yeah.
That was your veteran leader there. Thank God Brian Reynolds is probably has a better head on his shoulders and hasn't been beaten down with this franchise that much yet. And he's just kind of a nice guy. But if I am a veteran, if I am Brian Reynolds, I am welcoming people to hell.
You make a good point, actually. Counterproductive of what the point I always made about him. Maybe they should be thankful that he is the player that, and Cabrian Hayes. Maybe they should be thankful that they're not outspoken. We should be thankful that Cabrian is Cabrian and not Charlie Jr.
Oh my God.
Charles Jr. Sorry. Because what if he was Charles Jr.? Right. So I guess my one of my biggest things is
sucks.
The leaders that are on this clubhouse are just, I don't know if they're leaders. Like they're leaders by example type, but not the AJ Burnett's. Maybe the team should be thankful because we're hoping for them to be AJ Burnett types, but they very well could be Jason Kendall types because of what they've endured. And it's welcome to hell, kid.
Have fun. This sucks.
I take back my mindset. I actually am thankful that they're quiet. But now that this team is close, let's bring those vocal guys in. Let's get that AJ Burnett in this clubhouse.
Let's bring the intangibles back.
Yes.
No,
it's time for that.
Inch at all.
The ladies would. Gotta start bringing fans in somehow. I mean,
another offseason conversation. Even Kevin Newman, like a guy like that, he is a veteran on this ball club. He's the guy that's been around and he does play the game well. Like he's very fundamentally sound. He's seen nothing but losing. Like just go down the list.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bunch of guys that just probably have hated their life for at least 4 years. Yep, time to go to work. I'm going to go, if I'm Brian Reynolds, I'm going to go 2 for 4, probably with a homer, and I'm going to come home and go to bed.
Yeah. Which that would be Reynolds. Probably.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They could win 100 games. It's like, I'm going to go 2 for 4, homer, go to bed.
Go to bed. See the kids now.
Yep.
Go to bed.
See ya. All right, you got them. See ya.
Gonna trade for Amir Garrett. I mean, honestly,
I would.
Bygones be bygones.
That's a guy.
We're always on the same page. Bygones be bygones.
I would like.
Yeah.
Give me a little fire.
I would love an Amir
fire,
Garrett.
Man. There's no fire on this team from the manager. Give me Amir Garrett.
I don't think there's really anyone on the team that,
give me Keone remaining Kella.
That bring him back.
Where's Kyle Crick at? He'll beat up a pedophile.
Yeah. Now we're going against our rule of making the bullpen good, though. Also, so not too many of those types. All right.
It's been 45 minutes.
We could go on for hours. We're just so damn good at this.
We have enough to talk about.
We're terrible.
Also, I sobered up through it.
Any last words, I guess, for our last post-game show?
October 19th, right?
October 19th. The fanboys are returning. Yes, Tyler, thank you for adding that. I did forget. The fanboys are going to return October 19th. We're not sure the time. We'll start having the nominations out there for you guys to nominate in the voting and such. That will begin. Should we also tease something that's coming this offseason? I know you kind of did.
I do think we should.
Do you want to tease it?
No, you do it because I already teased it on Twitter.
I guess I don't know how to tease it quite yet.
Because I don't quite know
that's
how
our
you're gonna. I don't quite
problem in
know how
this.
we're doing this yet.
Same. We just know we have to, and it has to be
Yeah.
soon. We just haven't put enough
know
time
what?
into it. So let's.
Okay.
Okay.
If anybody listening is interested in doing post-game shows next year, get in any of our DMs, mine, Donardo, Jim.
Not Jim.
Wow. Jim might be the fairest of us all. Get it. Just reach out to us. We will have something in store in the off season. If you have any interest in doing a post-game show, just not every night. If you want to do it maybe a couple times a week, whatever you want to do, reach out to us. We might have something going on here this offseason.
Yeah. If you have interest in joining NS9, doing some post-game shows, let us know. There's no guarantees, but again, there's something brewing, and you can be part of that to potentially be part of NS9 doing post-game shows. So yeah. That
Why do you think
brings
we're
up the biggest challenge? Is anyone hosting this post-game show even interested? So maybe that's why we're asking others, because we're not. No, we are.
Why do you think we're asking?
It's kind of a grind for 3 people. So we want to expand some things. And also it gives potential for other things. We're always looking to grow, expand, and do different things, like we don't just do this type of stuff. Again, we're hosting a fanboys. We got Starbucks, we got NS9 Live. So yes, that's if you're interested, let us know.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, if you want to deal with me, good luck.
I don't.
It'll be fun. We're going to have a fun off season, Donardo. It's going to be a fun off season regardless.
That we are. I can guarantee that. That's the other thing too. Yeah. Like if you know me, it's off season time. Like this is my favorite time, if it makes sense, especially when the Pirates aren't good. I enjoy off season, and especially it makes these shows better. You can talk about way more stuff and not just sad, pathetic things that happened. You can make things up, which is what I guess actually some other brands that talk about the Pirates do anyways. They make things up also. We just can be factual when we make it up. But with that said, let's get out of here. All right. Yeah, no lockout this time. We are out. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for watching all season long as well.
When are we going to be back, Donardo?
We won't be back tomorrow.
Thank God. It's like my boss just gave me a day off.
I'll say this. Jim and I have missed 2 Starbucks this week. If you've caught that, I think our next return will be Jim and I doing a Starbucks. I just don't know when. It might be our normal scheduled Monday.
Aside from that, you might see all 3 of us next Thursday.
So like our regularly scheduled NS9 lives will start to return.
We have not done that in a long time.
I know. And not in the way that we normally do them either.
No.
So NS9 lives will return. And I'm not even sure they'll be on Thursdays because I think we're going to look into changing the date on NS9 lives to be Wednesdays also because of football.
I'm all aboard that.
Yeah. So, again, some changes. We'll change up the scheduling on some things. Of course, there's less shows, but we'll still have them in different type of shows. And again, if you're interested in joining, let us know.
And if you like sports betting, don't watch me on Tuesdays.
Don't watch NS9 bets at all.
I would not blame any of you
with Cody and Tyler.
Don't watch, and it's probably a waste of your time.
But that's probably your next show. Next Tuesday is when
you'll return. That is my next show. I will be back next Tuesday. But I get a nice little 5-day weekend.
Glorious.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Let's play the Hockeys.
Let's do it.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.